When I saw him sign this $23 million guaranteed, the guarantee is $23 million, I said, excuse me. That dude is being paid like he's closer to elite than average. Let me look at this. And as it turns out, J.J. Watt, in terms of his win percentage for his matchup, is elite. He's top 10. He wins his matchup more than almost anyone else in football at his position when he's on the field. Now, injuries have been a concern, but when he's on the field, he is not just closer to elite, you might say he's still elite. Just because he's not what he was at his prime doesn't mean he's not elite. In his prime, he was in the top uppermost tier of greatest front seven players who ever lived. Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Bruce Smith, Aaron Donald. J.J. Watt is right there with those guys in his prime. So just because he's fallen off, don't mean he's fallen off closer to average. He's still, as it turns out, closer to elite than average, and that's why he got paid.
Me personally, I have no problem with him getting paid. He's a future Hall of Famer. When you think about guys with the most sacks since 2012, Chandler Jones is number one, J.J. Watt is number two. This brother is a future Hall of Famer, make no mistake about it. We know how formidable he is. We also know what a leader he is, and we also know what a leader in the community he is. I'm a huge, huge fan of J.J. Watt, and I believe he will be elite. But basically, right now, at this point in time, he appears to be closer to average than elite. I don't think that will last. I think that he was contaminated by being a member of the Texans organization, a part of all of that nonsense that was going on within that organization, which is universally recognized right now as one of the worst organizations in all of football, which is why Deshaun Watson wants out, which is why J.J. Watt went and apologized to Deshaun Watson, because he recognizes the cesspool that he was a part of. He wanted out, and he knows that Deshaun Watson deserves out. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's had 9 sacks over the last 2 years, that he hasn't been the dude that we've known him to be, that registered about 18 sacks in 2018. I'm not saying that'll last. I believe in J.J. Watt, and I believe that he will make a difference in Arizona. Here's where I think he also kind of blew it, though. J.J. Watt clearly wants to be in a position to compete for a Super Bowl championship. I'm not saying that can't happen with Arizona. But if you're predicting that Arizona's going to do it ahead of the other options that he had available to him, whether it was Pittsburgh, whether it was Green Bay, or another team, I would dare challenge anybody on that. In the NFC West, where you've got Seattle, you've got the Los Angeles Rams with their elite defense and Matthew Stafford there instead of Jared Goff. You got Jimmy Garoppolo coming back with Deebo Samuels, with George Kittle and others, and Kyle Shanahan coaching that team. Bigger things are expected of the San Francisco 49ers. So you got 3 teams within the division that are considered better than you. Now, does that mean you won't improve and you won't leapfrog over one of them? Sure. What's the likelihood of you leapfrogging over all 3 of them? I sincerely doubt it. So in that regard, I would say J.J. Watt might have gone to the wrong team, because at this stage and point in his career, he clearly wants to compete for a Super Bowl championship. And although there's parity in the National Football League, you can stick up the joint one year and go to the Super Bowl the next year. And we understand that with Arizona, it's definitely possible. I've got some questions about Kingsbury. I don't have those questions about Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray can ball. But I got questions about Kingsbury. He still has a lot to prove to me as a head coach. But when I look at J.J. Watt, I'm fantasizing about him with Chandler Jones, who's got something to prove himself and all of that stuff. He only played 1 game last year. We'll see what transpires. It's just that at this particular moment in time, even though we believe in J.J. Watt, I don't think we can look at him and think about anything other than closer to average than elite at this particular moment, even if we believe that will not last because he's with a different organization he's actually interested in playing for that deserves his services.
Well, first of all, closer to average, and I just disagree based on the evidence. I said top 10. Stephen, I meant top 10%. He was 15th in 2020 Watt ranked. This is from on ESPN.com, by the way. 15th out of 119 qualified pass rushers in pass rush win rate, according to ESPN stats and information. So 119 guys qualify, and he's top 10%. There are only 14 guys with a better win rate against their pass block. That's elite production. Now, you could say, well, injuries have kept him off the field enough. that you can't consider him really elite because, you know, the best ability is availability. But I also wonder if he can get over the injuries, maybe that's actually affecting him when he's actually playing, right? Because it's not just like acute injury, you come back, now you're 100%. Sometimes you're less than 100%, and yet he's 15th out of 119 that qualify in win rate. He wins his matchup more than almost anyone else. And in terms of Arizona, it's interesting. He and DeAndre Hopkins are back on the same team. And it's almost like J.J. Watt saying, okay, Texans, remember, think of all the icons for that franchise. Andre Johnson, J.J. Watt, and now Deshaun Watson, who have spoken out essentially against the franchise. J.J. Watt goes and joins DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, of course, he got paid. That's number one. But goes and joins DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray. Maybe a show the Texans what might have been. But you said it, Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, oh, my God. Off either end, that's a whole lot of. And I'm not sure that Arizona won't be the best team in the division. I think it's going to be a very tightly contested division. It's a really good one. But Kyler Murray is still ascending. Matt Stafford, not ascending anymore in L.A. And the addition of a pass rusher like J.J. Watt could be a tipping point on the defense. And DeAndre Hopkins is there. I don't know. I think Arizona is as competitive as anyone in the NFC West.
They could be, but we don't know that for sure because we know that they have a coach that on a collegiate level, he never really won anything. And there was legitimate questions as to whether or not he deserved a head coaching job in Arizona. He's gotten a head coaching job, and they've had some good moments in Arizona. I'll give him credit for that. But in the same breath, we've looked at Kyler Murray. We looked at some of the things that have transpired, and we said, you know what, we've questioned whether or not he needed better coaching on the NFL level from time to time, watching him go out on that football field and play against the odds that were stacked against him because of his coach.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.